feel like a cafe is probably the best place to start this little series, and it's gonna make a little creative diaries. And I've gotten a sketchbook here, and I've got my portable watercolor paints, which is insane. I also have a pen. I'm kind of in a bit of a pen mood right now, but we'll see. Maybe I'll add some little designs to that. I've got my little matcha, which you see if I can move you. Look at how pretty that matcha art is. It's so beautiful. Yeah, I'm just sitting in a little cafe right now, and I wanted to start off this video with some creative stuff. So this is documenting what I do creatively throughout summer. I'm currently reading A Court of Frost and Starlight. I'm about 100 pages into this book. I haven't read in a really long time, so it's good to pick up something in a world that I'm very familiar with. So I'm continuing reading this. This I'm hoping will get me inspired to start writing in the fall. I'm planning to do some reading over the summer. This is just kind of palate cleanser to hopefully get back into reading, but I'd like to just read a bit more and do some annotating and just like really get back into literature before I start writing in the fall. But this summer, I am working on several different projects. I have just released an album, and so over the summer I am going to be working really hard on promoting that. And some goals with promoting would be submitting it to magazines, putting up posters around town, and then just maybe doing some ads as well. And yes, those are my music goals right now. I'm also working on starting my Etsy shop. I've got my first designs out. I'm working on getting the second one. My computer has unfortunately decided to die on me recently. Put me back a couple steps when it comes to the Etsy shop because I'm a little afraid to use it right now. But that is my second project, very big project that I would like to be working on. The other thing is my business Flowy, trying to get that a little bit back up and running again, posting a little bit more, posting for both of the businesses a little bit more. And I do think that's a bit creative work because it's for my creative work, and also I find social media, like posting when I'm in the mood for it, very, very creatively fulfilling. I'm going to be working on that as well. And I'm also doing a couple projects with some friends of mine. I don't know if I'll be documenting that, but that I'm really excited about. I might be script writing, helping a friend with some music, game development. That's really fun, very excited about that. But biggest thing I really want to document here is I would love to document the process of writing an album. I think that would be really, really fun. Mom, just a break 1 second. So I was talking with my roommate last night, and they had a bit of an idea for kind of an aesthetic of an album. And it got me really inspired. For me, when I start writing an album, the first thing that I do is I really start visually, which is really strange, but I tend to have a visual idea in mind, and I try and bring that to life through the music, but it always starts visually. So the kind of idea was sort of this grungy, fantasy, fairy, forest vibe, and that really, really inspired me because I've been looking for an aesthetic for the next album, and I have a couple ideas for some projects, but just none of the aesthetics are, just not really resonating right now. Last night that really resonated with me, and so I just wanted to start yapping about that on here, because that's kind of what I do when I first start ideating a project. So I'll kind of start with idea. So I've got my idea, sort of grunge fantasy. That's like the theme. I'm gonna write that down. So okay, and then yeah, this would be an album. It might be a bit of a shorter one, I'm not totally sure. I'm really excited for the sound though. So the album, I guess, yeah, concept is grunge fantasy, fae and forest vibes is really what I'm going for there. And this was inspired by, I did a Akatar cosplay where I went as Nesta and I got little ears, and I was showing my roommate the ears, and that was kind of the inspiration for like, oh, this would be really cool to have the ears for if you do like a grunge fantasy album in the future. And I was like, I think you're on something there. So grunge fantasy is the first concept. And then for sound, I think the first thing that comes to mind for sound influence would be Grimes. I think is You'll Miss Me When I'm Gone by Grimes. I feel like that song is very... What's the other one? There's another one off that album I really like. Yeah, You'll Miss Me When I'm Gone. There's another one. I can't remember the name. I'll put it on the screen if I can remember. So I've got the album, I've got the kind of idea, and then I'm gonna put down sonic influences. Because those are the first things that's going to really come to mind. So sonic influences. So I definitely want guitar and like kind of grungy drums, but I also really want that like mystical fairy vibe as well. Kind of just like playing around with those things. I think one thing that's really I love in music and I think is not done enough is really airy vocals on top of like grungy music. I think there's like this, it balances it out, and I just think it's so haunting and really beautiful. So that is another thing. I think the second thing I like to do is I like to write. So the first thing, I often just start with a Pinterest board, but I don't have my laptop or anything here to start with that. So we're gonna kind of just go a bit more into the idea for the album. So again, grunge fantasy is the idea. The sparking point was from my roommate. Sonic influences, the first thing I can think of is Grimes. And then I will probably make a playlist for all of the sonic influences that are going to be going into the album. But I think there's a couple, there's a couple songs I've got in mind. Glitches I think would be really cool. Really actually interesting if I could maybe even blend like this kind of resurgence of analog media into the grunge fantasy vibe. Like CDs, all of that kind of stuff. Like I can just sort of picture like a fairy sitting in the forest, like with like kind of those old 2000s headphones on and like a little like a little player, and like hitting play on one of the songs. Yeah, it'll be really fun to play around with. The other thing I like to do is I like to do words. I think that song titles are really important with coming up with a cohesive world for your album, and I think the big things for the albums for me is I like to treat them as like a full thing of work. So there's the art that goes along with it, there's the songs that go along with it, there's a story that's being told. There's so much moving pieces in there. I want it to feel like a world that I'm creating, world building really. And so the first thing that really comes to my mind is a little bit of like there's like this haunting aspect to it, but there's also this rebellion as well. Yeah, there's this like haunting rebellion thing going on, very much like kind of taking your power back. But again, there's this hauntedness to it as well. There's like this darkness in there as well. It's not like all girl power. There's something else going on there as well. When it comes to the concept, my roommate's idea was the princess slays the dragon. That could be an idea. I'll write that down. And then a big thing is I also really like colors. Each album has a very distinct color palette. I think with Live Forever it was very green and yellow. That's Live Forever, it's green and yellow. This one I think it's green and gray. And I'm gonna write that down as well. I really want it to be like sparkly. I think with Live Forever it was very like sunshiny, really like just like nature. This is still nature, but it's a little bit of like manufactured nature, or like this fantasy element to it, which Live Forever doesn't really have as much. There's like the angelic element to Live Forever, which is more of a spiritual thing though. It's not much like fantasy magical, so there's a difference there. This shirt I had a long time ago trying to emulate that vibe of that t-shirt into this project. Got those colors down. Themes, haunting, rebellion, princess slays the dragon. Bit of a homecoming. That's another word. That's kind of what's coming to mind at the moment. I think I'm gonna make a playlist, and I'm also gonna make a Pinterest. This is the idea so far for the album, and I really want to write it. I really want to document the writing process of it. So stay tuned.